For what purpose is the lady from Guilford, Representative Harrison Rice?
To debate the bill.
Ladies recognized to
I'm in
debate
the
the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. I don't want to repeat too much what's been said or what I said before, but I did want to point out a lot of the problems with this bill and encourage you to support the governor's veto. I do want to remind folks that I appreciate the leadership working with us and made many improvements to the bill as it was introduced and came over to us from the Senate, so it was much improved. But there are a lot of problems, and we know the practical reality, as has been said, is this bill is going to make it harder to vote and is going to create confusion. One thing that, the one thing that's been pointed out is that when we tried to change this on the effective date, I think it was Representative Dahl's amendment, it's going to take effect on January of 2024, and then we've got a primary 2 months later. And there's no evidence that there's been any voter education. And if you'll remember back in 2013, or those of you who were around for that bill, House Bill 589, that implemented voter ID, we had 3 years to educate voters, and millions were spent. And we still had thousands of voters that were disenfranchised when they voted in the 2016 primaries. That's 3 years of build-up. We can't rely just on websites. We have a huge digital divide in our state. So we've got all these new duties that are being imposed on the county boards, the state board, the voters, and there's no, as far as I can tell, there's been inadequate funding. I know that the fiscal note that we received was about $6 million. Don't know that if that ended up in the budget or not. The specific problem areas, some of which have been mentioned, the same day voter registration, that one card return, or you're kicked out if you're sent the postcard and it goes to the address you used to register. Well, we know that's a problem. And I raised this point before. The United States Postal Service says mail can be undeliverable for a host of reasons. It has nothing to do with whether someone is eligible to vote. There are more than 3 million addresses that don't have a mailing address assigned to a carrier. And they've testified under oath that it shouldn't be used to assess residency. It's because it's not always reliable. So we've got that problem, and in particular, this affects the transient, homeless students, low-income individuals who need an alternative way to verify their eligibility, and this is not going to accommodate that. There was one accommodation regarding the HAVA document for students, but for students who use their parent address, that might not work. Absentee ballots. Representative Hawkins referenced this. I ran an amendment last time to take that piece out because while it's better that the absentee ballot signature verification doesn't apply statewide in just a few counties, but we know what the problem is. And we know, if you just look at your own signature, how it's changed over the years, and we know how negatively this will impact the disabled veterans, the elderly. That's going to be a problem. The juror selection process. We've got the disenfranchised of voters, and they will be harassed. For those who may have applied for citizenship before and got kicked off a jury, but then they got their citizenship and then they voted, and then potential for harassment there. Representative John mentioned the absentee ballots. We're going to lose, that was 12,000 voters in 2020 for a problem that does not exist. Representative Price mentioned poll observers. We did work closely with the bill sponsors to try and improve those provisions, but we know there will be voter intimidation, and we know what the result of that's going to be. There has been recorded voter intimidation from previous elections, and that was before they expanded poll observer opportunities. So I just want to say that this bill is going to make it a lot harder to vote and limit access to the polls. We have a nationally recognized state board of elections and a well-run professional county boards. There's little or no evidence of voter fraud. Incidents have been in the single digit and multi-million votes cast. But this bill is going to disenfranchise tens of thousands of voters. Our track record isn't great on this. We've lost many court battles and spent millions on state taxpayer dollars defending these unconstitutional bills that we continue to pass. I encourage you to sustain the governor's veto. Thank you.